View session. Yeah.
Yeah, showing green now.
Yeah, I'm just loading now.
Nice. We're going to scare the life out of any of the normal MX5 regulars who are used to seeing 4 cars in there. We should all get the same Team Awesome Power Force or whatever it was livery.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. That would.
I'm not quite the lowest rated iRated driver in the group. That's all right.
That's weird seeing the yellow thing next to me now.
Oh, it's yellow, your new thing, your new colour.
Yeah, got promoted to C, class C.
Nice.
You'll get used to it.
The only orange in here, so beware.
That's fine. We've got to start somewhere.
And we're in.
So we're good to go around the track, or are we waiting for you, John?
No, you carry on. Yeah, let's get stuck in and warm up and do some laps. I mean, I think by the time we've driven for an hour and just got used to things, that'll be a good time to talk through high speed and what I look for. And I think really these sort of sessions, everybody needs to work out what works best for them. But I think if everybody, like if you just do whatever you do the rest of the time, you're naturally going to get the same results. So I was kind of hoping these 2 hours a week are the time where people can sort of put their thinking caps on and say, right, I'm not just going to do an entire tank of fuel. I'm going to do 5 laps and then I'm going to review my data against, a faster driver's data, pick a corner to work on, do another 5 laps just working on that corner and driving the rest the same, see if you get better, review the data, and I think once you get used to looking at the data, you can do that quite quickly. But trying different things is, I think, the takeaway from this. Whether it's approaching just one corner, like the final corner, and just practicing steering harder and faster on one lap and seeing how that feels and how the car reacts, then steering really slowly on another corner, jumping off the accelerator, all just getting used to how the car behaves in different scenarios and logging that in the memory banks.
Unlucky, Alan.
Baseline setup, yeah.
Yeah, it's fixed. Oh.
We've got a mic problem.
Yes, I think someone's trying to speak. Whoever's just joined sound like Zippy from Rainbow.
The pit lane speed limit is 60 kilometers per hour. Watch your mirrors, there's a car approaching. Yellow flag, watch out.
Do you think it's the engine in my car I've just joined, or...
So what's the deal with this internet then, Liam? You've had the phone line fitted, but this is as good as it gets, is it?
That's how good his internet is.
Oh,
Maybe as that delay,
That's
you know,
weird.
like when you do those video calls to Australia and they're about 6
That's the
seconds
fastest
behind.
lap for King, 103.84.
I was just muted. But my broadband's 30 down, 10 up,
The leader
which
has
is
just
kind
done
of
a
meh,
108.10.
basically.
That's enough for gaming, no?
Hell, I'm on 10
Yeah.
and 1 and I work fine.
Damn, that's like some slow internet.
Welcome to
But,
Wiltshire.
to get anything better, I have to spend like mega bucks. And the phone internet's great. The download speed's higher, but the upload speed's like 0.5, which is like not really good enough.
Okay.
I'm still on phone internet at the moment because I need to run a cable through the loft and everything, and I just haven't got around to it.
New fastest lap for King, 103.78. The leader has just done a 103.94.
Can I just ask a quick question, actually?
Far away?
How do you turn off this like really annoying voice that keeps
Sector 3
up
times
by?
Yeah. It's high
She's-
speed.
She's
Yeah.
really irritating. Yeah.
Absolutely. On the data collector, if you right click where it says hot lap, it will give you a menu,
Right. Let's have a look.
and there's a voice. There's a voice one about halfway down sub
Sector
menu.
1 is 0.6
But yeah, that
off the pace.
Right. Let's have a look.
Sorry, Justin.
I don't know how anyone thought that was a good idea.
Just want to find it.
Yeah, I want to go back to the outside now.
Analyzer. Right. And then on analyzer, I'm looking for.
Right click where it says hot lap above the gear indicator.
Okay.
Fastest lap for King, 103.
No, not the data collector, not the analyzer. The black screen.
Right, got you. Okay, so it's got gear selector, then it's got qualify. Do I click on that or?
Oh yeah, it probably says qualify. Yeah,
Qualify,
click.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't done anything. Oh, it just keeps
Right.
going through. It's just going. It's rotating through different things. Race,
Have
hot
you
lap.
have you right clicked on it
0.31
to bring up the sub menu?
Oh, wait a minute. Yes, yes. Text to speech. Is that the one I want
That's
off?
the one. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, fantastic! You're a star, John. Thank you. That was
Until
really
she's
annoying.
until she says voice is turning off, it's not really off. It'll keep coming back. So
Oh, God.
you've got to go into the menu and deselect it somehow.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Mine started doing it today. I've had it installed for months.
Right. Voice will be turned off. Awesome.
That's it.
That's good. Right, now I can drive in peace. It's great.
Sector 2 is 0.2 off the pace.
Session seems a little bit quicker than the official.
Yeah, Dave set it up before the official, because once the official one's up, you can just click a few buttons and mirror it. Apparently,
Good
but
lap. That's your quickest so far.
Dave set it
That
up
was,
beforehand.
104.36.
But again, I think the purpose for most of us, I don't know how many people in here intend on racing the fixed Mazda. I imagine some.
And Paul, I thought we were doing well.
But it's, simply a car that you only have to worry about the brakes and the wheel. The accelerator's basically a light switch, isn't it?
The leader's just done a 103.39.
Cheers, Dave.
No props.
Sector 2 is 0.5 off the pace.
Let it sound through a second.
B6, you're currently 1.1 off the leader's pace. Sector 1 is 0.37 off the pace. Sector 2 is 0.5 off the pace. Sector 3 is 0.27 off the pace.
Still feels weird having to turn the steering wheel so much in this car.
Sector 1 is 0.32 off the
It's
pace.
sort of, it more mirrors what you see in real life, I think.
I'm just missing the clutch.
Ah, me too.
I loved that. It was one of the cars you could actually drive like a real car.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating.
Sector 2 is 0.42
The thing that
off the
I'm a
pace.
bit sad about is the lack of diversity now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
V's an 8 shifter, but you spend so much time in third, it's not, doesn't feel really like it is.
Sector 1 is 0.32 off the
True.
pace. Sector 2 is 0.42 off the pace. You're a tenth off the pace in Sector 3. That last lap was a 104.26.
On your left.
See, this, whilst this track is quite repetitive, the braking for turn 1 is a good one to practice.
Clear left.
You know how late you can get the car in and still make the apex and still hit the gas early. The final corner's a good one, and the little right-hand kink that takes you under the Dunlop Bridge is a really good corner for practicing lifting off and getting the weight transferred without using the brakes, because you absolutely don't need the brakes through there. And I'd just encourage people that maybe haven't done so much actual, actual sort of practice with a view to personal improvement. Try different stuff. When I jump in a session, if there's guys going way quicker than me, I like to watch their fast lap using chase cam to get an overall view of sort of where their lines are, and once I've done a few laps, so I can sit behind the car and go, oh right, okay, they're braking there and I'm not, or they're turning in earlier than I am.
Oh, John, you're 1,000th ahead of me. Got to get that back.
2 is 10th off the pace.
Yes, I agree with what you're saying.
I planned it that way as well.
Just backed off a bit before the line, did you?
Yeah. I just, drove the whole lap with a view to being 1,000th ahead of you. I can definitely hear some sort of muffled, scratchy.
Yeah, voice.
Yeah. If someone's speaking and we're talking over you, it's your microphone sounds like you're communicating from Mars.
I think it might just be someone's crew chief leaking slightly.
Oh, okay. Rocking the little car. That's funny.
Yeah, but you're overtaken by a bunch of smarties.
Well, yeah, okay. Yeah.
So the question is, can I keep up with you enough to actually see what you're doing?
I always find when we do these sessions, the first couple of laps are mega quick, and then everyone's slow for the middle, and then it gets quick at the end again.
John, pull away from me at the moment.
I can't find any pace now, actually.
You haven't put much time in with the new understeery car, though, have you?
No, I haven't, in all fairness. Thank you for giving me an excuse.
It's taken all of us a while to get into the flow, I think.
I do need to get some time in.
Apart from Alan. Alan seems to be crushing this new car.
Alan loves it.
Yeah, I like an understeery.
He does seem to be doing pretty good, doesn't he?
I have to say I was quite pleased with myself last night, Alan, rocking up to the radicals, setting the pole time and buggering off.
I'm not going to lie, you did it, and I cursed a little bit inside my visor. It jumps into the session, does 8 minutes, sets one flying lap, goes, that's me at the top of the leaderboard, lads, see you later. I'm going to carry on down the list of rooms, just destroying everyone's will to live.
I saw you hopping from voice chat to voice chat, John.
Yeah.
I wondered what you were doing.
Yeah, just playing around in the various cars for Monday's practice.
I think I got to about 0.8 off of your lap time during the race, so I was relatively happy. I've never driven the Radical at Watkins before.
Yeah, you really have to sling it across the curbs to get it to get the lap time out of it.
It's a lot more forgiving than it was last season.
Right.
Especially on cold tyres.
Yeah, I ended up in the ESS series with Sean. We were talking about that, and I swear in years gone by they've not said they've updated the tyre model, and maybe it's not a complete number revision, but they've actually tweaked something and just not put it in the release notes. Right, I'm coming in for a fresh set of boots, trying to attack Alan's time.
Right, I was going to wait for you to finish that corner. Do you always use the curb on the left hand, let's call it the corkscrew, to help your rotation? Or is that on that lap? So the turn 2, so the left-hander, do you always run your inside tyres onto that curb because it kicks the back end around?
I think I do try and touch the green bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so like the left-hander that you're coming up to now. Not so much the green bit, but the actual...
Oh, the actual curb.
Yeah, the actual curb tends to unsettle the rear of the car and help with the rotation, I'm finding.
Okay. I don't think I'm consciously doing that, but I'm trying, I find railing around the inside to be the fastest way for me.
It is quite slippy, that green bit. I tend to avoid it.
I try and get my whole car on it. I've had a couple slowdowns for it though.
You going, John?
That's just mean in a practice session, that, John. Leaving your nose there the whole straight.
Well, I think part of what we need to get into is the on-track, going fast with people around you and racecraft and all of that stuff. So I wouldn't expect...
Go on, mate, sorry.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anybody in an official to give anyone any mercy, and I won't be doing it in practice.
So I was going to say, going back to your analogy with the old paragraph.
Yep.
So you could learn to hot lap around here. The thing is, every corner is different if there's a car in front of you, and you're either defending or attacking or running slightly offline. So if all you've done is memorise your braking point and your line for a certain corner, and there's a car in the way, well, you're automatically on the back foot, aren't you?
Exactly.
Pushing wide.
And I think there's a couple of different bits to that. There's being used to being offline and familiar and happy with it, but there's also being able to drive the car on its merits without having to think too much. I almost always set my fastest laps when I'm waffling as I am to you, and I'm not really concentrating on driving. I'm just doing it based on my instinct and all the practice and all that stuff. And I think in a race situation that gives you, if you're not having to devote any brain power to physically guiding the car around the track, ooh, that was close, you can fight. You've got more brain power for the fight.
On your right. Hold your line. Clear right.
You got
P7. Sector 2 is 1.1 seconds off the pace.
Left side. Clear left. Left side. Hold your line. Clear left.
Yeah, one off flat last. Brilliant.
So I think already I'd say to people, if you've done a few laps and you're sort of warmed up and familiar, maybe, you know, find a lap of somebody you want to use as a reference. Someone, it's normally a second round a normal track. It's probably going to be half a second round here.
Well, that lap
See-
you just turn's a good lap.
You're losing 2/10 in sectors 2 and 3. Sector 1 is 0.8 off the pace.
I'm a second and a bit off of what I managed to do a couple of days ago. That's the problem.
You just say you're a second and a
second
bit
off in
off
sector
what you
one.
did the other day.
Yeah.
What are you doing there, John?
Was it the same
Well,
session that we're in now? Because if
Yeah.
the temperature was massively different, then that can equate to a lot of time.
Well, everyone else is running about the same as what they were, and I seem to be massively slow in comparison to myself. So either I'm doing something horribly, horribly wrong and I haven't noticed it, or
I feel much quicker tonight. I thought the track was quicker.
Sector 2 is 0.8
I was
off
thinking
the
the
pace.
same because I have set like a purple lap like 3 times already.
The track's
Okay, Matt,
definitely a
there's
bit
car enters
faster
your
than
pits, heads up.
Sunday.
Oh, Jesus.
Hello, Liam.
I just went fully sideways behind you.
I noticed. I really can't find any pace tonight.
Well, the track is 48 degrees.
Sector 1 is 0.7 off the pace.
Yeah, the car's weird now, Paul. As long as you've sort of got it slowed down for the corner, you seem to be able to roll out the brakes and keep cranking on the steering lock, and it keeps turning.
Oh, Jesus.
It's
Sector
very
2
different,
is
though.
0.6
Yeah, it
off
is
the
different,
pace.
isn't it?
I lose the back end a lot more now. I'm excited to try some of my setups and see how they've changed as well. I've only had a go at baseline so far.
Sector 1 is 0.7 off the pace. Sector 2 is 0.6 off the pace. Sector 3 is a 10th off the pace. Your last lap time was a 104.88.
Yeah, I did a 4.4 yesterday, or on Sunday, whenever it was, and now I'm doing 5.4s as my best.
Have you got Sunday's data?
Sector 1 is 0.9 off the pace.
Yeah, I put it up on the thing.
Yeah, you could compare yourself to yourself. I know the track's slightly different, but just see if there's anything that you're fundamentally doing differently.
Yeah. 1 second.
Sector 2 is 0.33 off the pace.
Car left. Hold your line. Clear left. On your left. Clear left.
You've just done a 104.83. New fastest lap for Edwards, 103.30.
Nice, John.
Yeah, just about put one together.
You're now 1.2 off the
You'll
leader's
make Alan
pace.
angry.
Sector 3 time is fast.
I'm finding the time. I was holding the brake too long
Right.
into
Clear
the
right.
final corner, even though, albeit just a small amount. It seems how this baseline's set up. Once you've got the nose somewhere near the apex, or at least I'm finding, you
Sector
can
1 is 2.2
roll out the
seconds
brake
off
and
the pace.
hold the line.
I'm finding on the hairpin turns, there's a definite point where you seem to regain grip from that understeer, and that's the
Yeah.
point to get back on the throttle. It seems far more distinct than the last car.
See, you'll feel that with a bit of practice in every car.
Oh.
Sector 2 is
It's one of the things
off the pace.
that enables me to jump in lots of different race cars. There is a definite slight feeling, and yeah, it's really. I was thinking how to describe it, and it's a bit like a sense in a way. You slightly see the car grip at the front, and you slightly feel it through the wheel. I think the problem with all of this stuff is it is very subtle cues that you have to pick up on and learn. But that point in the middle of the corner when you've slowed down enough and you've still got the lock on and the car grips is one of the definite sort of keystones to being able to drive every corner in every car quickly.
In a way, this new car might be teaching us a few new things when I just sort of settled into a groove with the old one.
Yeah.
Right side. Clear right.
Thanks, Matty.
Oh.
Sector 2 is 4.2 seconds off the pace.
Good bit of traffic here.
I think the old car was much more of a momentum car. The lap time came from, really railing through the bends. This feels like you have to get it stopped a bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
But you see, in a way, that's sort of a mix of a way a GT3 car needs to be driven in some respects. Although they've got the big fat slicks, and you can, you obviously want to be on the most efficient arcing line you can be in any car, but using the power, using the big fat slicks, getting it into the apex, bouncing off the traction control and firing it off the corner.
Yeah.
So maybe, although we don't really understand it yet, this car is a more relevant learning tool for stepping up through the different classes.
Yellow flag, keep your wits about you, mate. You're a second down in Sector 3.
Oh, I felt that one.
Clear right.
Are you, how are you braking? Are you maxing it to 100% or?
Sector 1 is 3.4 seconds off the pace.
You're probably in ABS.
Yeah, what I'd say is bring the braking point back a little bit. I'm just reviewing my fast lap because I'm still acclimatizing to the new pedals, and I was getting into the ABS. Even though you can't really feel it, we know it's there.
Yeah, I'm really struggling to tell if I'm in ABS or not.
It used to be really easy to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, we know the car's got ABS because you can smash the brake and you don't leave two huge, sliding marks on the road. But where that ABS point kicks in, it would be nice if it was a bit more obvious. Even to the point if they had a light on the dashboard that blinked when you were into the ABS. But for me, it's with the old car, and I feel the same with this one. It's about 90%.
0.50 off the pace.
Of let me see what VRS Blokey's doing. Although he's brand new to it as well, isn't he? So.
Sector 2 is
probably
0.7
different conditions.
off the pace.
Where are we?
That puts you 1.3 off the pace. Sector 1 is 0.5 off
Yeah,
the
so
pace.
what I'd
Sector
say in
2
that
is
case,
0.7
rather
off the
than
pace.
ploughing
You need to
around
find a
getting
10th in Sector
frustrated,
3.
is
Your lap
check
time
the
was at
data and
104.59.
sort of have a look for any obvious differences if you're familiar enough with iSpeed to do that.
Sector 1 is 1.1
Yeah,
seconds
fair enough.
off
Well,
the
we'll go
pace.
through that in a half hour. Telemetry. Right.
I'm going to have a look at your fast lap, John.
Right, so VRS Blokey is maxing out at 75% pressure for turn 1. About 80% pressure for turn 2.
Sector 3 is 0.29 off the pace. Yellow flag, caution.
At 90% pressure for the penultimate corner.
Ah, damn it.
Sector 1 is 1.2 off the pace.
And about 40% pressure for the final turn. And he climbs up over the red curb on the inside towards the end, if that helps anyone.
Yeah, I've been doing that.
Yeah, that definitely helps, that red curb on the last turn. Just helps bring you around a little bit.
I've been getting too impatient and booting it before I get to that, running wide.
What I find about this track, it really punishes mistakes. Like, all of a sudden, you're 0.3, 0.4 of a second down.
Yeah.
John, you got your optionals into the 102s yet?
Let's have a look. No, I'm right on my... I've done a 3.297 and my optimal is a 3.228. 3 of the 4 sectors were purple on that 3.297 lap.
No, I'm going to chase you then. I got a 3088.
Are you out the car?
No, I'm in turn 1.
Okay.
1 hour, 25 minutes to go. Should be about 22 minutes of fuel left. 0.6 litres per lap. We're not seeing any significant tyre wear. Your brake temps look good. Okay, Matt, we need to watch these track limits. 1 hour, 24 minutes remaining. We think about 22 minutes of fuel remaining. 0.6 litres per lap. Tyre wear looks fine, mate. Your brake temperatures look good. 300 feet. 100 feet.
I'm pitting Paul if you're waiting for me, mate.
Okay, cheers, John. Alan, rather.
Right. I was just going to say, I'm just going to go through a few laps and watch people's quickest laps. So I'm starting at the other end of the grid. So I'd say, Callum, the big stops, if you bring the brake marker back a bit, you're heading into the corners a bit hot. Well, you did on your fast lap anyway.
Yeah.
I think if you keep working backwards like a car length at a time and concentrating on the line, I think you'll get more. You might lose even a tenth on the way in, but just being on that tighter line will mean you're running less meters and you'll be able to smash the gas earlier, and that should give you 3/10 coming out of each corner.
Okay.
I'll just go through the sort of main thing I can see, I suppose, to start with. It's like I was saying, we had an impromptu session Sunday, and I was saying to everybody then, it's counterintuitive to brake earlier and gain lap time, but one of the common mistakes I see people making, or the mistakes isn't even the right word, I think, just what they're doing differently to me, let's put it like that, is getting into the corner too hot. And when we look at those sort of data, you'll find you'll definitely gain time on me into the corner, but from the mid corner off, I'll be, just pulling away.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's two things at play here. There's your ultimate hot lap, because like turn one, a wider line into turn one and a late apex 3/4 of the way through the corner is going to be probably the fastest line. But in a racing situation, someone will be up your inside every single time. So, we've got two different things. We've got an outright fast lap and how the car feels, like a qualifying lap, if you will. And then there's the racecraft stuff where you need to learn to go as fast as possible, running less than perfect or less than ideal racing lines, I suppose.
Just watching my own fastest lap and I'm missing all the apexes.
And in this little car, I mean, in everything, it's key. I was watching. Are you all familiar with Martin Kroenke, one of the VRS guys, one of the fastest, fastest guys in the world? He was doing a lap guide in the LMP2 round Road Atlanta, and the yellow lines before the curbs are the white lines before the curbs are painted yellow at Road Atlanta. And he went through one of the turns, and the right front wheel was on the outside edge, like the racetrack edge of that yellow line. He's like, I've missed this corner. And I'm thinking, at the speed you're going, if I got that close to the curb, that would be a victory. But to him, that's a miss. He's 4 inches not tight enough into the turn, and that's the level of accuracy that these pro drivers do lap on lap. I think we'd all settle for running a half decent line most of the time.
Behind, take care, rejoin him.
yes.
I'd settle for not being on the grass.
Come on, Sam, go through.
Is anyone actually going up to 4th before the final hairpin?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
a hairpin or final corner.
For the final corner, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm finding I'm just buzzing the limiter of third just before I need to brake.
Yeah, I'm because the change down now doesn't take any
P8.
time. I'm changing up. Right, I've watched Anthony. You're, I think the thing you would benefit the most from is trying to get the feeling of the car weighting up as the grip transitions onto the outside tyres. The sort of slip angle of the tyres. So the weight's working against you in the middle of the corners. I think if you maybe concentrate on rolling into the turns a bit smoother, even if you have to sacrifice a few laps in sort of lap time, just try and get used to that feeling of initiating the turn slowly, imagining the weight moving onto the outside tyres, and then as you come off the brake, continuing sort of smoothly to increase the lock. I think the car will connect with the road better.
Okay.
P9.
I shall look into that.
You're 2/10 off the pace in
Yeah,
sector 3.
you know, like some of these things are so easy to say and require so much sort of time and effort. But as I say, I'm just going through the grid, spotting what I can see is maybe the biggest thing to work on.
Yeah, no problem. It's just that sounds like something I should do without other people on the track. To be fair, be getting in the way.
Yeah, fair enough, maybe. But yeah, we're not talking much here. You know, if you sort of back the braking up just a bit, roll out the gas, roll out the brake as you start the turn. But it's whatever you feel more comfortable doing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll give it a go.
Sector 2 is 0.47 off the pace. You're currently 1.3 seconds off the pace. Sector 1 is 0.8 off the pace. Sector 2 is 0.47 off the pace. You're a 10th off the pace in Sector 3. Your lap time was 104.62. Sector 1 is 0.6 off the pace.
I feel like the lap times are a lot closer in the new car.
Yellow flag.
Which is fun.
Yes, I agree. It'll be interesting to see what happens when we get to somewhere a bit more representative.
Sector 2 is 0.6 off the pace. You're now 1.4 off
Right,
the
it's the
pace.
same
Yellow flag. Watch
situation
out.
for
Sectors
you,
1 and
Richard,
2 are
and I am
0.6
basing this off
the
a
pace.
tiny
You're 2/10
sample
off the
data
pace in
of
Sector 3.
one fastest lap. So you know, but you're slowing more than you need to in the turns because you're not using the weight to your advantage, and it's one of the more tricky feelings, sensations to get because we don't have G-force. You'd be, as the car gripped up, you'd feel yourself being, you know, thrown in your chair, or the belt's tightening, or you know, whatever it would be. You'd feel the car dancing on the edge of the tyre grip. We haven't got any of that to work with. We have to do that all based on experience and what we can see and what the very subtle cues through the wheel. But it's not necessarily a feeling. It's a combination of your vision, the fact that you can sort of feel the cars dancing, you can hear the tyres making that seashell swooshing sort of noise, which I think is the indicator they're right in their sweet spot of grip. But yeah, same for you. Just try. It's the steering wheel work more than anything else. Getting into the turns and starting the turn slowly, you know, or with a a small amount of lock to start with, just to shift the weight, and then once the weight's on the tyres, you can roll out the brake, and whereas you're slowing down to get through the turn, the car will be able to arc through it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's one of those light bulb moments. It happened to Dave, who's not with us this evening. He did a driver 61 course, and it was driver 61 sent him to the centripetal circuit to just go round in circles, jerking the wheel, doing it smoothly. Once you understand the sensation about the car gripping up, everything else becomes easier.
That lap was at 104.43.
Overnight.
The track
That was quite
temperature's
a big
decreasing.
change for him.
It's now 45 Celsius.
Yes, because it's such a huge part of the puzzle.
Yellow flag.
Yeah, I can't feel what the car's doing until it starts understeering.
Sector 1 is
Yeah.
0.27 off the pace.
And like I say, you're not going to have this, there's this feeling I've never felt before of the car gripping up. It's not anywhere near that pronounced. It's this subtle cue that you just have to work to find.
Yeah.
Like the right hander under the Dunlop Bridge is a good place to try it, because you don't need any brakes there. You're relying solely on your wheel work. So lift out the throttle, try snatching the wheel to 90 degrees, try gently feeding it in, try somewhere in between, and just get the visual cues and the sensation of what those different motions and actions are, the effect they're having on the tyre grip, and therefore the car, turning or not turning.
Left side, clear left.
Sector 2 is 0.8 off the pace.
Right, Mark, it's slightly different for you. You're not using as much of the track as you have available. There's a bit of racetrack left on the outside as you go into the corners and as you come off. But I think moreover with you, the car will carry on turning earlier. If you apply the throttle earlier in the corner, you're leaving a bit of margin on corner exit, but the line's basically decent. If you start edging a bit more towards the edge of the road, making slightly bigger arcs into like turn 1 for example, turn 2 you don't want to be right against the right hand white line when you start the turn in my opinion. But that right hook underneath the Dunlop Bridge, if you can get the left rear right on the white line as you turn, you're opening up the corner.
Sector 2 is 0.45 off the
Okay,
pace.
fair play.
But it's you just have to creep up on all of this stuff. I think the hardest one to really get a handle on is that the weight transfer. We can all brake, we all know how to hit the brakes, but transitioning that weight from the braking phase into the turning phase without losing the weight transfer and making it jump back to the middle is tricky. Right.
Certainly is.
Right, 10 minutes. How are we doing? Dave, I'm never going to get through everyone in 10 minutes. Is it beating my time? Oh, Alan's beating my time. Good lap. Alan will be taking next week's class, everyone.
Only if we stay at this track. Tell you what, the annoying thing is I'm over 2/10 off my optimal lap now.
Right.
And it was without a tow. So I know none of the sectors are
okay.
false timings, if you've followed someone, especially out the last corner.
Yep.
Yeah. So my purple sectors are all clean laps.
Speed limit. 300 feet.
So I don't know. There's a There's a 0-2 in there if I can hook
100
it up.
feet.
Alan, what lap was your fastest lap? I'm just trying to watch it now.
If you go to me, so find my car on the track, and then open up lap times, whichever one's my quickest lap will be highlighted in a different colour. So it says 3-2-2-2. And then if you double click on that, it'll take you to that lap as I start over the start finish line.
Ah, got it. Lap 28. Right. Thanks very much.
No worries.
Apologies, whoever it was on the pit straight I just spun in front of. The front decided not to grip.
I think that was me. All good. I was on a purple lap and I wasn't compromising it, so if I took you out, then yeah.
No, it didn't hit me.
Sacrifice I was going to take.
Right, Dave's best lap. Got into T1 just a skosh hot. And compromised the exit. Fraction, maybe half a car length would have got you to the exit. Turn 2's drive a really nice line through the little kink because we should all be straight lining that.
Yeah.
Nice, got on the brakes that little bit earlier into turn 2, which was nice. The car will grip more. You've got more grip available from the tyres for the right kink coming under the Dunlop bridge.
Right. Okay.
You initiate the turn in a little earlier and a little softer than you absolutely had to. You were on the right place over the curb without a doubt, but the car will accept a little harsher, little later move.
Steering input, right?
Yeah, and that'll give you just a little bit more mid corner speed, and you'll still be able to hit the exit.
Right,
and
got you.
and if anything, just from vision, it's just a fraction late off because the penultimate corner's banked.
Yeah.
Once you're into the apex, you can hit the gas a fraction earlier than you would if it was flat.
Right.
But nice lap. Other than that, all good.
Cheers. Thank you.
The annoying part, I think realistically, look, Alan and myself are in the 3.2s.
Mm-hmm.
If you're anywhere, I suppose, from a mid 4 downwards, there's no major. There's nothing majorly wrong,
right?
Which is always requires much more work and is much harder to fix because it's a little bit everywhere. Half a K on the way in, half a car length earlier on the gas. All adds up.
Yeah. Got you. Am I loading it up properly in terms of initial turn-in, just sort of weight transfer?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Like apart from missing the first corner, as I say. Oh, now people are doing quicker laps and jumping around. I'm likely to miss people here. That's very inconsiderate of you lot to actually be getting better. How dare you? Right. I get confused at the best of times, let alone when I click on the list of names and it's all different. That's weird.
Gonna have to recalibrate it.
Oh, like properly need to recalibrate. That is weird.
Yeah, to the point where I'll come out of the pit and I'll just crash straight into the concrete wall.
It's not spun a whole 360.
Yeah, I say you haven't done a 360 on it, have you?
Don't know.
If you click on the options thing, you'll.
You know what? I think I have.
Yeah.
I did that yesterday. Drove straight into the pit wall within seconds of loading up.
That's exactly what I just did.
I did it on my first ever oval race. Turned right into the wall and couldn't work out why I wasn't going straight.
Superb.
There's traffic behind. Watch your mirrors.
Right. Okay. I'm at Tim. You're doing a classic, I suppose, which is just braking a fraction too late, which is just meaning you're having to overslow just a tiny bit in the middle of the corners, and it's compromising you. I also think you changed up to 4th before turn 2.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah. And the only other
maybe not intentionally, but yeah.
No,
I keep
fair
getting
enough.
third.
Yeah. I mean, I'm literally looking at the fastest lap. It is a very small, sample of one's driving, but it seems the best place to start. And the little kink under the Dunlop, there's you just touched the brakes, which again might be a reflex thing and might not even slow the car down much, but it will go with just the wheel, and it is a really good place to practice loading the tyres.
Yeah, I remember you saying that on Sunday. It's just, I don't know, I've got into a bad habit now of just dabbing it, and it kicks that car around just a touch.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's definitely not the fastest. I do have a question. I'm watching Alan's lap, and I've probably watched it now about 50 times. And well, actually no, he's just set a new fast lap, so never mind. On his on the first corner, he seemed, obviously this works because it's the fast lap, but he seems to cut it really quite narrow. Instinct for me would say to go wide and then bring it tight in. Is there a reason behind that? Obviously it works, but instinct would say to keep left as long as possible and then kind of turn in, and then you've got a longer straight up to the chicane or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. What we're essentially trying to figure out at all times is navigating our way around the racetrack in the quickest way. And the quickest way in this car wouldn't be the quickest way in a Formula 3 car, potentially, due to the sort of the different levels of grip we've got available and all of that sort of thing. This car, less meters, it seems to yield more time advantage than that ultra late
straight line,
big wide sweeping apex.
Got you. Yeah, I'm just watching Alan's 103, 107.
Yeah.
And every tight corner, he's pretty much running his inside tyres over the apex.
Yeah.
It's kind of very, very tight around it.
Yeah, he's minimising, but because the car hasn't got a huge amount of lateral grip available to it, especially at low speed, you're not gaining. You're doing extra meters, but you're not really gaining any turning grip or ability by hanging out there wide.
Yeah. Would you say on a faster car, kind of that extra meterage can help, but not just with this specific car?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you'll find different cars with different grip characteristics will run a slightly different line. I don't think you'd be round the inside in every car, but that's the puzzle we're all trying to work out at all times, isn't it? The feeling your way around the fastest lap.
Yeah.
Who is it that's chatting with John at the minute? Who's chatting at the minute? Sorry, Tim. All right. So one prime example I've found that I've modified what I'm doing during this session actually. So the little left-handed kink after the Dunlop bridge. So you do the right, have a lift, and then you've got the left-handed kink. So I was running to the rev limiter in second in that corner, and what he was doing was running me out on the right-hand side of the track. So I'm now shifting to third, which is meaning I'm running a really tight line, and it's probably saved me the best part of, I'd say probably a tenth from the beginning of the session, but about half a tenth now.
7th position.
Just to run that extra bit of track on the right hand side through one corner.
I've noticed that
quite a lot.
On a few of the laps I've just watched, it seems to be kind of the running trend of short shifting. So as you come under the Dunlop, just before you do the little left hand of short shifting around there and then running it tight and kind of going straight into the penultimate corner instead of pulling it wide.
Just to interrupt, I'll be 2 minutes, then we'll get stuck into some iSpeed. So if streamers can ready their streams, it's like Ghostbusters.
Don't cross them.
Exactly. So yeah, back in a sec.
Right, I'm going to see if this actually results in faster lap times now.
That's your fastest lap today. Your 2/10 down in
Thank you,
sectors
I'm
1
getting
and
slower
3.
at the
Sector
moment,
2 is
so-
0.35 off the pace. That lap was at 103.84.
I'll not take offence, it's fine.
Just on my fastest ever lap.
I think I did hit the brakes a bit early, so.
Sector 1 is 0.9 off the pace.
It's alright, it wasn't a terrible lap anyway.
So something I used to bug John for when I first started with the MX-5s, probably about a season ago when I joined the Discord and stuff, was his best sector times. So I could work out which sector I was bleeding a lot of time, because it could work out that
Sector 2 is 0.8 off
it's
the
relatively
pace.
close across 2 or 3 of the sectors, and then one sector I'm miles away. So if anyone wants me to read through the different sector times I've got, just pipe up and
Okay, Matt, we need to
I'll
watch
run
the
through
track
what I'm
limits.
doing at the
What's your
minute
speed
in
limit
each
in
of
the
the 4
pits?
sectors.
What's your speed limit in the pits?
I wouldn't mind
300
having that
feet.
info.
Let me know whenever you
100
want it
feet.
sending.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay,
Right,
so at the minute, sector 1, I'm doing a 15.947.
Oh, me too. Hold on.
Alright, let us know when you're ready, John.
Yeah, hold on. I've got to find myself. Wow, there's a
I'm
statement.
right on you in sector 1, that's nice to know.
Okay, so sorry, your sector 1 is?
Okay, 15.947 in sector 1.
Oh, 915 for me.
914.
Hey.
I mean, I've done an 826 on an optimal lap. I'm just going through my best lap, so hold the celebrations a little bit.
Yeah, 846 for my optimal. So, you know, whatever.
17.429 in sector 2.
17540.
16.504 in 3.
554 for me.
And 13.226 in sector 4.
286 for me. Sector 2. I think it's this line you found through
sector 2 for me as well.
Yeah, through the swoosh under the Dunlop Bridge.
So like I said while John was away, it's something I used to badger him for really early on. It's like a really coarse adjustment that you can do in session without getting into the nuts and crannies of the data. That if I know, for example, I could be losing 3/10 in sector 2, well, I know that whatever I'm doing in sector 2 needs looking at. And it's like a really coarse adjustment that I could use during sessions.
Right, dudes, is everyone happy to do a little bit of looking at ice speed?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can stay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've got the thing in my headset, so I can just ping up the ice speed. I suppose everyone needs to leave the session, don't they? Or they'll have to tab out of it. Yes, let's do that. Let me stop procrastinating. Let's just quit. Right. Are we ready to go? Okay. Awesome. Okay.
Almost ready.
I am streaming, so you should good to go.
Right. Let me attempt to share my screen without disconnecting. Here I go. High speed lap analyzer. Oh, look, we've boosted enough that we can stream it in 1080.
Lovely.
Hey.
Okay. Can everyone see the lap analyzer?
I can.
Superb. I've brought my lap up and the lap Liam posted, of which he's obviously much quicker now, but just because it's best to have some sort of comparison that's got a bit of time difference. So this is iSpeed. Hello and welcome to iSpeed. Here is the track map. It's pretty rudimentary. You have to sort of work out where you are. So this is the start finish line. Turn 1.
Sorry, are you sharing the screen? I seem to be struggling to.
Yep, there's a screen share.
If you mouse over
Yeah,
John's
I can see it.
name in the Discord, you'll see a little box that says
Watch stream. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay. Everyone else, we're all on board, are we?
Yeah.
Okay. So the quirk of iSpeed is when you go to file and import the lap, it will hang for about 30 seconds while it talks to the server. It does that when you import lap 1 and lap 2. You just need a bit of patience to get the laps in. But the way I do this is I leave the faster lap as lap 1 and the lap I'm comparing to as lap 2. You can put your lap as lap 1, whatever you want. But we've got the track map here, and the different colours represent the different events, braking and acceleration phase. There are various different things like gear, throttle, clutch and stuff. I prefer brake force, throttle percentage, and then the steering angle. And then the stats box over on the right here, you've got lap 1 and lap 2, and it gives you some useful information about the speed at, if you put a point on the map, you'll get the speed. You get throttle percentage, brake percentage, steering, gears, RPM. The G-force, the yaw is of some use sometimes, but the way I analyze my driving to look for my own habits and then compare them to another driver is I use the left-hand mouse button and I sort of highlight the event. Then you can right-click on it and zoom into that section. And this bit in red is the bit that we've got highlighted in this whole window down here. So from just before the braking zone to just after full throttle application, and then we can get into some analysis. So I'm the light blue line, Liam's the dark blue line. So into turn 1, this here is the light blue line. So we can see straight away that I've taken an earlier turn in. If we scroll around the corner, our lines converge coming out, but straight away I've driven less meters, but that doesn't necessarily tell the whole tale. At this point, just when I'm about to put my foot on the brake, I'm doing 99.7 miles an hour. Liam's doing 99.6. It's completely negligible. I've got a bit of steering in the car. Liam's much more straight up. We're both in third, all of that sort of stuff. And this is where you start to build up a picture of your habits. This is the braking curve. So I'm getting on the brakes relatively slowly. I might be able to transfer the weight slightly faster than that. I'm holding a nice steady pressure with the nice new pedals, trailing off as I get to the corner, and you can just put a marker and it will move this to where you are in the corner. So you can see as I'm starting to deviate my turn from Liam, I'm lifting off, and this is giving me the grip to be able to make this turn while I'm still slowing down, whereas Liam's holding on to the brake for longer, so he's naturally going to have to, he's got more of his braking grip into, or more of his available tyre grip into braking. So
lock on as well.
yeah. And, as I say, this is not sort of a representative lap of the ceiling of anyone's ability, just 2 random laps I chose to highlight a difference. You can see the sort of trail braking here. If your brake trace looks like this here, where it's falling off a cliff, this is likely causing problems and will certainly cause problems in faster race cars. The jumping off the brake pedal will make the car bounce up on the rebound stroke of the shocks. It'll unload the tyres and you'll be cranking more steering lock into the car and getting less turning than somebody that's steering less with more turning. And it's utilizing this sort of data along with what you're seeing, hearing, feeling and practicing that helps lock in the two, it helps lock the two things together so that you speed up knowing what's right, because you start to feel it and then you can look at the data and think, I can now see it. So what we draw from turn 1 is I brake a fraction earlier than Liam. I'm able to trail off the brake slightly. We already know that we were going the same speed just before we put the brakes on. Exactly the same speed. So we've learned that holding the brake requires more steering lock, means you're doing more meters. And then what I tend to do is look at the event as a whole. And when you draw a red line, it goes from a single point of data, the speed and the steering you were doing at that precise moment in time, to the average. So time loss is this. So you can see that to the mid corner, there's nothing in it. There's 300ths. So scroll wheel to move out. Then what I tend to do is find the acceleration phase. So Liam was able to go full throttle earlier than myself. And then I draw that line to just before the next braking event. So overall, that's another nearly 10th. So we're looking at just over a 10th difference just from that small deviation. So there's the 10th. That small deviation in holding the brake that fraction more than I am. You know, that rolling off is enabling me to get the car to grip, if that makes sense. So I then just work my way around the lap. So we zoom in on turn 2. We can have a quick look. There's 0.08 of a time loss, and then we can get into the nitty gritty. Here, the brake trace is much more similar. I'm slightly overlapping my brake and my accelerator, which is a bad habit, and I need to do something about it. Liam's much more disciplined with rolling off the brake as he rolling out of the throttle as he rolls onto the brake. You can see here our brake traces are much more similar. I've held the brake a fraction longer here. I mean, it's a few meters, and the result of that, and again, I've turned in a bit earlier. Let's zoom in a bit. Liam's coming from a wider line. I've turned in a fraction earlier. I'm using a bit more road on the exit, but you can see here I've been able to go full throttle, and there was just a ever so slightly more of a build up. And again, there's a bit more steering lock here, and it's these tiny little differences, especially in an underpowered car, that make the difference. So if we roll it through, that you can see in the top right where it says time loss, it's 0.8. As we scroll round, that 0.8 remains off the corner. So that one little difference here, that tiny little fraction of a difference, is another better part of a 10th. Here's the kink. We'll have a look at, let's highlight it first. Again, I'm running a slightly shallower line on this particular lap. There's no braking, so here's the throttle trace. I come out the gas a fraction later. I'm back on the gas a bit later, but Liam's gone back to the throttle earlier than me. But as we move round this way, can I scroll that along? Yeah, I can. Look. There's had to be a tiny little confidence lift, and there's more steering angle down the bottom. So we're just building up a picture of the facts, if you like. So through here to the next braking zone, 10th and a half. That may not be in any way representative of his best effort. That was just the lap I picked. But, you know, it's these sort of things that you need to look at regularly and log, because we're looking for differences in why one lap is quicker than another, but we're also looking for any constants in the data. So, you know, are you consistently braking later or earlier than the reference lap? Are you braking harder? Are you trailing off quicker? You know, all of these things help you build up a picture of what to work on. Right, here we go. So here we are with the penultimate corner. Time loss is absolutely marginal. We'll have a look at the speed. That slight confidence lift back here somewhere has accounted for 0.4 of a mile an hour. Doesn't seem like much, makes quite a difference in a little car. You know, every tiny little bit helps. So again, we go into the data. You've actually crossed over your brake and accelerator very slightly in that corner. I'm about the same. Again, we've broke incredibly similar, but we start to see a pattern appearing on this particular lap. This last little bit, I'm holding a bit more brake. That was the same as back here, wasn't it? Have I got that the right way around?
You're holding a little less braking on, but holding on for longer.
Yeah, I'm just holding the brake a fraction longer, and it is a fraction, but that's that's enabling me to you see here, Liam goes back to the throttle earlier, but it's just it's a fraction too soon in the corner. I mean, that's quite a long way back in the corner, so it might be a little squirt over the apex curb. You can see his lines. The car's maybe gripped, a bit more than he was expecting. And then as we come off the turn, so I'm slower at the point where I'm at full throttle. Liam's back to 41, up at 41.5 mile an hour. I'm quite a bit slower. We have a look at the steering angle, negligible. We're 150 odd degrees each. Let's see what happens when we draw the line down the straight. Quarter of a second, right there. This little event here has made a quarter of a second difference. And this little event here is a result of this little event here. And you start to see why it's so difficult to just go round and round in circles and try and put all of this stuff together when you're just hot lapping, because we're talking about there's a distance in feet. So what are we talking about here? Half a foot's difference, is that right? That seems like more than half a foot. And someone with better eyes read that and
that
understand
distance
it.
you're reading there is the distance you're covering in the red bit. So you did 52 foot, he did 51.5 foot. So that's just the lines you drew.
Oh, I see, because the two lines are different. Right, okay. So we can't actually see how long that bit is, can we?
Yeah, so the bit you've highlighted is 52 foot long.
Right, okay.
So you held it for approximately 50 foot longer.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
But that seems like a lot.
Yeah.
For that bit.
Yeah. So that is a reasonably significant event in that case. And then again, it helps to, if you want to pinpoint a spot on the map, it helps to do it down here. And then I just go around building up a picture. So if I'm Liam's lap, I'm looking at this thinking, right, okay, I'm going to try. I know I get on the brakes in the right place. I know I'm holding the brake for the right pressure. I'm just not holding the brake for quite long enough. And if I just can hold it a fraction longer, maybe turn a little later in the corner and commit to the throttle, that's what I'm going to work on there, because I know there's a quarter of a second. Then if we go to the final corner, I've lost 12 thou to Liam round here. We'll drill in and have a look why. The lines are a bit different. I've put the brakes on a bit earlier, had a bit of a sort of confidence wobble. Liam's made a nice braking arc, and then it's playing with the throttle off the corner. He's had a quick dab and then been able to build the throttle up. I've had a wobble up to full throttle and then had to have a confidence lift because I feel I'm running off the track. And we'll see what that does to the line. In actual fact, to the line, my minimum speed and my maximum speed was the same, average speed was just very slightly faster. So that full lift out there, I suppose, compared to my progressive, even though that was a little wobble out the throttle. So, really, if I'm analysing these two laps and I'm Liam and I'm thinking, right, okay, where is he getting all of that time on me? I'm looking, I draw up here, I'm like, right, this is negligible time difference. I draw around the corner, right, this is negligible time difference. Then I draw it all the way to the next thing. Right, there's a 10th there. If that's the most important bit, I'll go back to that and examine that. I draw around here, better part of a 10th. Back round to the next event. It's not changed much. Keep going through. All of a sudden, right, we find there's a fair bit here. So I'll then go and have a look where that time is. And as we know, because we looked, the majority of that time was that little confidence lift getting over the curb. So I would mark that down in my practice book as something I'd need to practice on. But the biggest sort of most noticeable difference in this iSpeed comparison is this bit here and this 50 feet. So this is the bit I'd go and say, right, the rest of it I'm pretty happy with for the time being. I'm going to do the same thing around the rest of the lap so as to not fry my brain, and I'm going to practice the entry to this corner and holding the brake a bit longer and just experiment with different lines. And I might do 5 or 10 laps and then go back to the iSpeed lap and put the new lap up. And even if the rest of it's different, you're not worrying about that. All you're looking for is whether you've made this better. And once that's better and locked in, you just work your way back to the next worst bit, you know. But at the same time that's happening, I'd say build up the picture of your own driving habits. Are you consistently getting on the brake more shallow or more harshly than your reference driver? Are you holding the brake longer? Are you jumping off the brake too quickly? It's all these traits and habits of your own driving that will help you understand what differences your actions, are, or what you're doing differently to the reference lap, and then what time impact that's having around the racetrack, if that makes sense. Does anybody have any questions? Does that make sense?
And I've got a question, John. It's just, can we like completely rewind? I've not used this program at all yet. So you start the iSpeed lap analyzer before you go into session.
You just need the data collector running, the black screen.
Oh, the telemetry one.
Yeah,
The one that's got the woman with the voice in it.
that's it. That's the thing that is extracting the data. So that's the only thing you need running while you're actually
And that
driving.
automatically records the data without having to do anything else.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Right.
That
Okay.
will just record all your laps, and they'll appear in the iSpeed folder in My Documents with time and date stamps next to all of them.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you load them in, load lap 1, load lap 2. The thing will hang when you bring it up. This
Right.
pops up.
And
It will
that
hang.
records everybody's data on the track, whether they've got this software or not.
As long as they're running the data collector, it will be recording their laps, assuming they've got it set to upload to the data mart. You can set it so that it doesn't upload the data, but
Right.
you can see here that this is all from this year, but we go back to 19,
I
18.
don't think we see that window, John, because it's you're streaming
Oh, I see.
specifically the app.
Oh, okay, fair enough. That's a shame. Okay, good to know. But yeah, any problems, just have a play around with it. But that is the basic of basic data that you can use to build a picture of your habits versus someone else and give you areas to work on.
Okay,
Anyone
the
else?
little tab, or you've got the right hand side where it says points of interest. What does that mean?
I think you can set points of interest around the racetrack. It's not something
Oh,
I've
so
ever
you
used.
can focus on to improve or something.
Yeah, I think so. If you're interested in the sort of advanced features, there's probably a few decent YouTube videos out there about what to use all this for. Because the thing is, the splits don't match the iRacing splits.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, where these are isn't necessarily where the splits are on iRacing, which which is unfortunate. But I think VRS is the same. They they split the track into 1,000 different parts, don't they? So
Right.
anybody else, any iSpeed related questions?
Would you mind showing the time delta tab real quick? Thank you.
Okay, I don't use this, Liam, so you'll have to explain how this thing works.
So the middle line, anytime the black line is above the middle dotted line, the second lap is slower, and anytime the black line is below the dotted middle line, the second lap is quicker. So you can get a quick look at where you're losing time using that. In this scenario, it's not too helpful because like the entire lap, I'm losing time everywhere. But when you're a lot closer to another driver and you're looking for a few hundredths, I find the time delta to be very helpful, because often you'll be going under it and then over it and then under it and over it all the way through the lap.
Okay, so you use that to sort of again to home in on the part where you're losing the most time, where you're under it the most, and
Yeah,
and
where
work
my
on.
line is over the most, or
Yeah, nice. Okay, any more?
Did you say, John, that it's good to compare yourself to somebody who's, say, a second faster than you, rather than somebody who's the fastest kind of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think realistically, around this track, you're looking more like half a second because it's such a a condensed lap. But it's a universal sort of thing that if we could all just do a month's BRS, watch a 10,000 iRacing driver, and just go and emulate what they do, we'd all be world champion, and iRacing would be a boring hobby because we'd complete it in a week.
Sure.
And
is that because there's too much to work on? If you're comparing yourself to somebody who is incredibly fast, is there going to be so many discrepancies between your trace and their trace? There's just too much to do at one go. Is
yeah,
that part of the reason?
it's just, it seems easy. Because it's just turning the wheel and is that Gary? Gary, your microphone's having a fit. There's just so much of it is subtle, and you just have to creep up on. You simply can't look at a guy and go, right, he's going 4/10 of a second quicker through this one corner, so I'm just going to go 4/10 of a second quicker. You might, with a bit of analysis, and like, right, I'm turning in a bit earlier than he is, I'm holding the brake a bit longer or a bit less, you might gain a tenth. If you're lucky, you might be able to gain two, but any more than realistically a half a tenth or a tenth through an individual corner, unless you're making a fundamental mistake, you have to edge up on that level of feeling, understanding, trust from the car.
Yeah. So I'm comparing mine now to somebody who did a 101, and the difference is huge in every bit. Actually, it's mostly because my brake force is just incredibly high compared to his. I'm obviously slamming the brakes on way too much, probably hitting the ABS.
I'm having that problem actually, Dave. I'm just looking at mine, comparing it to John's one he just put up.
Yeah.
And my brake pressure is 100%.
Yeah.
I've only got it on for a short duration, and it seems to be upsetting the car a lot.
I think one thing to be careful of is the 101 lap times are probably with setups and not on baseline setup. So
right,
you do need to think about that.
Yeah,
as well.
good point. That's why I wanted to, or made it a stipulation that everyone would post their data.
Yeah.
It seems a bit anal in a way, making people name it a certain way and put it all in the telemetry thing, but there is method in my madness, and it's so that all of us can go into that folder, download. I just stick them on my desktop, and say, right, that's the one I want to compare to.
Yeah.
And I think it's a measure of your improvement. If you are using a certain driver as reference for a couple of weeks and you make a gain and they don't make a gain, you've got the satisfaction of, like, right, I'm moving on to the next driver up the list, or I can move on to 3 drivers up the list. And whilst we're not competing against each other, we're always competing against the racetrack. A little game within the game of like, find a guy's data, sorry, a driver's data, to to compare to, and try and chase that down, try and reach that level of understanding, and then move on to the next one.
Yeah, no, good point. Yeah.
Right, shall I mug this screen off and we get back to the practice?
Thank you.
That was really good.
Nice. But we can go through that stuff some more. I've been using data for years, and it's just a lot of lines to start with, but when you start getting used to it, you'll you'll find it much more useful than maybe it seems at the moment.
It doesn't lie.
It does not lie.
John, can you put your latest lap time up?
It'll be on the data mart if it's uploaded yet, but I haven't.
I see it. I did have a look. It hasn't got your latest ones at the moment. I'll look.
What the what? Right, hold on.
Oop, cold tires.
Where are we? Tsuba 2K full. X5. 103297, yeah. My headset keeps slipping down my sweaty head. You probably didn't need to know that, but that's the fact.
Is all this just going onto the Discord telemetry channel so we can just download it?
That's it.
Yeah.
Which is,
Got it.
as I say, which is why if it's all named the same,
Yeah.
everybody can just really quickly look at,
Right. Got you.
look at whoever's their reference, find their name, know it's the right track.
Yeah. Yeah.
Horrible.
How do I shut the voice up on this?
The black data collector part.
Yeah.
If you right click where it says, does it say qualify? Because we're in a practice, but above the gear lever, if you right click, it'll give you an options menu.
Oh, right, okay. Not in there yet. Oh, okay.
I think you
Can you actually-
right click anywhere on it.
Yeah, anywhere in the bottom bit. Yeah, fair enough. And then it says text to speech voice.
Ah, right, yes, voice enabled. Right, brilliant.
Yeah, slide along.
Yeah,
Untick
tick
voice
that.
enabled. Otherwise, you will go completely mad.
Yep. Thank you.
Right, 103297.
Gotta say, I love this. What the channel's done now with having these sessions up like a league thing. I think it's so much better.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. It's really easy for you guys. I don't want to be the one that has to filter through the list and try and do the admin on it. That's a complete pain.